Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Mountain Goats album, Getting Into Knives. Mountain Goats, North Carolina indie legends. For years, since the mid-90s, John Darnielle and company have become the stuff of indie rock and folk rock legend. Now, this might just be me. As a matter of fact, I do know most of the time it's just me. I was never really into their lo-fi days, their days of recording on tapes and trading said tapes, even though I completely do get the appeal of it, but I feel like I kind of missed the boat. I mean, albums like Zopalode Machine and Sweden are incredibly well written, but I wasn't into the lo-fi recordings. For me, though, it was around the time that albums like All Hail West Texas are coming out, that John Darnielle and company's music started to really speak to me. The stories, the personalities, the drama, it's all so good. I personally enjoyed the soothing sounds of Tallahassee, and We Shall All Be Healed actually has some of my favorite Mountain Goats tracks on it. I mean, I do kind of get the negative feedback of albums like The Sunset Tree and Get Lonely. Those albums didn't hit me nearly as hard, but let's be real. For me, at least in the last 5 years or so, Mountain Goats have been on a real comeback. The drama of Heretic Pride, the tasteful The Life of World to Come, the incredibly well-written All Eternals deck, Transcendental Youth, which honestly wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but was put together so well. Even in the last few years, they have been pushing all the right buttons for me. Beat the Champ, for me, a lifelong wrestling fan, was an absolute treat, and Goths, which terrified me from miles away with its promise of no guitars, ended up being a sleeper hit of the year for me. However, 2019's In League with Dragons, well, at the time I thought it was okay. Over time, it just hasn't really affected me that much. There was also that lo-fi sort of album they put out earlier this year that I was kind of hit and miss on as well. The singles they've been releasing up to this have been hit and miss, to be quite honest. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with Corsican Mastic Strive, and to be perfectly honest, this sucks. This is actually my least favorite track of the album. I'm sorry, but this track is everything that I haven't enjoyed about the cleaner years of the Mountain Goats. Tracks like this should be used as an argument against their later, cleaner work. It's just so bouncy and goofy. What even is this? It sounds like any no-name alternative folker's trying to rip off Mountain Goats. Even lyrically, this just seems weak to me. Picture of My Dress, ever since it dropped as a single, not cutting it. There are certainly parts to this that are likable, but is it just me, or is this just incredibly safe and incredibly boring? Now, it might just be me, but growing up, I always loved the way that John Darnielle seemed to just take a look at little things in life, little details, and make them into something beautiful. This time around, I don't know, it's not really working for me. As a matter of fact, this is kind of goofy. I hate to say it, but for me, this is end of the road for the Mountain Goats. I can't see myself stampeding to listen to anything they put out over the next few years after listening to this, honestly. I mean, there are a few tracks on here that do work for me, and when they are on, John Darnielle can still pen an incredible tune. Believe it or not, I don't hate Get Famous. I actually think it's one of the sharpest tracks here. I mean, it's super clean, it's super sterile. But between the slick horns, the soulful vibes, as well as John's thoughts on fame, this works for me. As many candles as possible is pretty likable as well. The pacing here is spot on, and the drama here is what honestly drove me to the Mountain Goats to begin with. There's a realness to this, and all around, it's just incredibly well written. There's just so much determination here, so much focus. This is fine. Tidal Wave is pretty nice too. The determination here is strong. Once again, when the Mountain Goats focus, they sound fine. There's a subtle beauty to this track, a powerful message as well. Not only that, but the emotion to this track is pretty damn raw. It just sounds like it's where the Mountain Goats should be right now. I mean, if you told me that this was from one of the better Mountain Goats albums of the last few years, I would believe you. And The Last Place I Saw You Live is the most emotional and intense track here. I mean, the visuals on this track are ridiculous. I love the drama once again. The lyrics are just so desolate sounding. There's just this intense realism on tracks like this that remind me of a really simpler time in the Mountain Goats discography. And for my money, I think it's the best track here. I wish we got more personal tracks like this. And as far as just a genuinely cool track, Great Gold Sheep is fantastic. It's just sort of jazzy. It's got this sleekness to it. It's super cool sounding. This to me just sounds like the total package. Not only that, but John Darnielle seems to be at his most transparent here. This is freaking deep, man. I mean, this is out of their comfort zone? No, but it's still a masterclass in this kind of track. But man, the rest of this album is really rough to listen to. Pez Dorado from a distance sounds fine, and it's super pleasant on the ears, don't get me wrong, but is it just me, or is this just so bland? Nothing about this reels me in for a second listen. John Darnielle's songwriting here is fine, but it's nothing that they haven't done so much better in the past. Bell Swamp Connection, on the other hand, is very sloppy. I feel like Mountain Goats here are trying to stuff so much into one song. Everything does eventually smooth out into a pretty cohesive track, but doesn't really sound too good. I just feel like once again we're in the presence of a band trying to knock off the Mountain Goats. There are some solid one-liners, the instrumental's fine, but nothing grips me. Rat Queen I want to like so bad. The lyrics here range from good to great. And instrumentally, this is freaking cool, but it's the verses here that just really seem to hit and miss for me. I've just heard them do so much more with so little. By the time we get to Wolf Count, I just feel like I'm getting bored of this. Once again, it's pleasant, it's light on the ears, but nothing about this really reels me in. Once again, real recurring theme here. I mean, like every 8 lines or so, John Darnielle has that one lyric that brings me back in, that really intrigues me, that makes me want to take a second look, but I never find anything. Harbor Me, on the other hand, is middle of the road for, like every other reason in the book. Lyrically, this is one of the sharpest tunes here. But instrumentally, at this point in the album, I'm exhausted, and this slow freaking track is not helping. I mean, instrumentally, Mountain Goats albums have never been that exciting or that wild, but this, I don't know, man, I've heard so much better. And I could say a lot of the same things about this album's finale, Getting Into Knives. I just feel like I'm expecting so much more from these guys. It's got some great moments. There are some lyrics that pique my curiosity, but this is so criminally safe to the verge of it being boring. I just know Mountain Goats can do so much more. They've proved it over the last 3 or 4 years. They really have. So, no. I'm not feeling this new one from the Mountain Goats. You know, I've always enjoyed a lot of their stuff, especially in the last few years. They are on the up and up. They are, you know, on a real creative streak right now. But this may just be the safest album Mountain Goats have ever recorded, and they've recorded quite a few, and I don't know, at this point, I expected so much more, and this let me down so much that I can't see myself listening to the next Mountain Goats album. It's gonna be rough for me. I'm feeling a very strong 5 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.